We are repeatedly told that hate speech is bad and should be denounced. Yet, why is it that certain kinds of hate speech are absolutely verboten and need to be shut down by any means necessary, whereas other types of hate speech are, well, apparently tolerated in the name of diversity and inclusion? So last Saturday, something called the World Coalition Against Islam was planning to show up at Toronto City Hall to stage a protest. The fact that a protest by this Calgary-based group was set for the same day as the anniversary of the deadly Charlottesville incident last year was either a very unfortunate coincidence or perhaps the timing was intentional, which makes one wonder if there was an ulterior motive at play here. But it turns out it was all a moot point, given that word quickly spread that dozens, if not hundreds, of counter-protesters were planning to show up at the square too. And so it was that WCAI waved the white flag of surrender and sat this one out. Even so, a mob of mostly Antifa counter-protesters showed up nevertheless, and the spoilt children who comprised the ranks of Antifa were reduced to venting their anger at members of law enforcement and certain media types. Because after all, they came for a love Trump's hate fight, and by God, they weren't going to be denied that fight, even if their original target never even bothered to show up. Indeed, check out what some of these thugs decided to do to veteran Toronto Sun photographer Stan Behal, who was merely doing his job. Don't Yeah, one of those thugs sucker punched Stan and stole his cap right in front of a brigade of police who apparently didn't want to intensify the situation by, oh, I don't know, enforcing the law. And how very odd that Mayor John Tory, prior to the planned protest by WCAI, a group that, I repeat, never bothered to show up and said as much 2 days prior to the event. Anyway, how odd it was to see Mayor Tory fret over hate speech being voiced in the public square. His worship said this, quote, "Hatred and acts of violence against any identifiable group have no place in this city," end quote. Oh, really? Because where was Tory's condemnation about another varietal of hate speech, namely those who marched in June in the Quds Day parade? Quds is a toxic hate fest that's been carried out for a number of years now, without a permit, I might add, but nevertheless always with a police escort. And what a jolly parade it is, with participants waving the flags of Islamic terrorist organizations and calling for Jews in Israel to be eradicated. Apparently, when it comes to that kind of hate speech, Tory says that his office would monitor the situation or something like that. Here's something for you to monitor, Mayor. Check out this thug assaulting me and my cameraman, Efren. My sin, I had the temerity to treat the women marching in the Quds parade as equals by asking for their opinions, something the assaulter didn't care for.
Hi, ma'am. What is that doll supposed to be? Excuse me. Ma'am?
Keep going, sir. Keep going.
Everyone's... What are these dolls about? I'm just curious.
You know about that, right?
No.
Move a little bit.
Excuse me.
Sorry, let's go.
You touch me again,
You
and you'll
touch
be...
me. Okay.
You grab me.
No,
you do
I
that
didn't.
again.
You're touching the woman.
You do that again.
That's pathetic what
It's
you're
gonna
doing.
be-
You're in their
I'm
personal
not-
space. You
I'm
are
in
in their
their-
personal space.
You put your hands on
You
me.
are in their
That's the
personal
second.
space.
Call me.
And much like the Toronto Sun Stan Behal, law enforcement decided to sit this one out too.
Officer?
I'm busy right now.
Okay, well, he has assaulted me 3 times so far, officer. Do we have Canadian law here or Sharia law, officer? This is incredible.
Excuse me, sir. Get out of my way, please. Thank you.
Lovely. But what I find especially perverse is seeing how far-left groups like Antifa so often go to bat for Islamist groups. According to a Forbes article, terrorists murdered 3,342 people on U.S. soil from 1992 through to August 12, 2017. And Islamist terrorists were responsible for 92% of all those murders. 92%. As well, even more perverse is that Antifa and their ilk cling to the slogan, "Love trumps hate," yet they demonstrate how hollow these words are by routinely engaging in acts of violence. Indeed, they even preach that it's okay to punch a Nazi, and increasingly the definition of Nazi is simply anyone sporting a contrarian opinion. At the end of the day, Antifa are not, as the name implies, anti-fascists. They are merely fascists. Let's simply call them FA from now on. As for Mayor Tory, can you at least please be consistent on the hate speech file, which is to say, if you are going to condemn hateful speech directed toward Muslims, which didn't even happen last week, then you also need to condemn hateful speech directed towards Jews, which happens every June in the city during that Al-Quds Day parade. Or is there a double standard here when it comes to the condemnation of certain types of hate speech? And if so, why so? For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, the Rebel has a new app. Please download that app and take the Rebel with you wherever you go.